Hi, my name's Leonie Smith. I'm also known as the Cyber Safety Lady. I'm an educator in cyber safety and digital citizenship. So that means I give talks to parents, students, educators, seniors and business people on how to use the internet and social media with safety. I originally started my cyber safety business about 3 years ago after having a social media consultancy. I understood that it was really important for people to use the internet and social media with safety, and developed some courses and workshops around advising people how to set up their social media and how to use the internet so that they were less vulnerable. My business is expanding into the disability community as well as into business, because business owners are using social media and technology to also reach out to their clients and customer base. And my business strategy developed over time. A lot of what I initially started doing, surprisingly, was actually really good strategy. It was built around systems. I didn't want to keep typing up the same things over and over again, so I would develop templates and I would share those templates with other people in my business. I really started focusing on my strategy, getting more advice about how to make my business more efficient so that I wasn't running around in circles doing the same thing over and over again, and also about setting goals so that I knew where I was going. To explain all the technology that I use would take a long time because I've been using it for such a long time, and I basically embrace things that work, and I'll have a go at something, but if it doesn't work, I'll throw it out. The technology is to help me run a one-woman show, basically. So I use things like calendars, for instance, to schedule my meetings and classes that are integrated across my mobile devices. So no matter where I am, I can see where I'm going. I use Dropbox to store a lot of my presentations, so that if anything were to go wrong in my presentation and I needed to draw from my files, I can do it. I've got it all set up on Dropbox. Initially, I used Google Documents quite a lot, and I don't use that as much now. All my social media strategy is to gain business. I have given quotes over direct message on Twitter. I blog so that I can be found on Google. A lot of the media exposure I've had has come from simply people looking for a cyber safety expert in Sydney, and I show up on Google because I know how to use SEO on my website, which I was self-taught. The other sorts of social media that I've found quite successful are YouTube, which I class as a social media. I've got how-to videos up there. Some of those I've had a lot of success with.
Go to the pencil and click Edit Privacy. These are set default to public. So what you want to do is set them to only me.
And that gives me exposure as well as placing me in an area that gives me credibility and trust from people that see me. So it's video, it's blogs, it's using the cloud. I use the cloud quite a lot. And things like webinars. I get employed to give webinars, so that means that I don't have to travel long distances, neither do the people that go to those webinars. And it gives the people running them a lot more flexibility. I get a lot of hits on my website from Facebook, so I cross-promote my blogs on Facebook. My blogs give people free information so they can do things themselves, but also adds to getting people aware that I'm trustworthy and that I have a certain expertise. Well, the way I executed my business strategy was, first of all, to make sure I could be found. There's no point in having a business if no one knows where you are, and basically no one's using the yellow pages anymore. So that means a website, and I used a lot of web-based tools, including social media and my website, so that I showed up in Google. That means understanding how SEO works and setting that up, and blogging. I found blogging is probably one of the biggest ways that I get found. People are looking for the answer to a question. I had a 60 Minutes interview very early on in my career, which wasn't even in my business strategy. I didn't ever imagine that that would happen to me. The reason the producer found me was by Googling cyber safety expert for another program that she was looking at. I executed my business strategy by making sure that I set up my web-based tools. That includes my website and my social media, and integrating the two across each other including search engine optimization on my website, which is really strongly benefited by having a regular blog. This led to achieving a lot of my goals much sooner than I thought and having more success in my business. It's really important for you to have and maintain a really strong strategic web presence. So it's not good enough just to be on the web, it's how you present yourself on the web. When you're thinking about designing a website, it's a reflection of who you are professionally. So make sure you get a good web designer to design your website so that it works, so people can find your contact details, so they can find your blog, so they can find out where you are and what your products are. Get some advice on that. If you see a website that you like, find out who the web designer was, or talk to other people in your industry and find out what their experience was and what they found worked and what didn't work. The same needs to be said of your social media. When you're setting up a social media platform, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Pinterest, make sure that it's done professionally and that your posts are professional, because that reflects on your business. If it looks amateur, if it looks like it's been set up by a high school student and it's that level, then people won't take you seriously on social media and you might as well not have the presence. Privacy is really important in my business. People are telling me personal things about their business and about sometimes their family life. And if I were ever to break that privacy policy, it could be devastating for them and therefore devastating for my business. So on my website, I state that privacy is extremely important to me and their privacy can be assured. When I'm dealing with them face to face, I also make sure that they know that. Any technology that I use, sometimes I use a product called Team Viewer where I'm sharing screens. I let them know that there's no way that I can take over their computer, for instance, after they've dropped the call. Social media is an integral part of my education programming. So when I'm setting up for a talk or a presentation or a workshop, I use social media to advertise public courses that I run. I also use social media after the courses, and I'll tell you how I do that. So I will set up an event on my Facebook page announcing that I have a presentation or a workshop coming up and give all the contact details, where it's going to be held, what people need to do to participate in that on the events page. And then people can share that amongst their friends or their businesses, so that adds awareness to it. I'll also use Twitter. I might use Twitter when I'm initially taking the bookings, and then I will use Twitter strategically leading up to the event, promoting it, basically telling people where it is and what the subject matter is. Then during the event, I might use Instagram, cross-promote it to Twitter, take a photo of the setup to tell people that it's about to start. And it's a bit of a promotion just to give people an idea of where I am and what I'm doing. After the event, there's something that I do that a lot of people don't do, is I use my Facebook page to highlight the types of questions that people asked at my event. So I might say a great question was asked after my presentation about a particular privacy setting that's on Facebook. And this was my answer. And I might do 7 of those in separate posts. And what that means is that people get an idea of the subject matter that I'm talking about at the event, and it may actually answer some questions they have, which will give them the idea of what they might expect if they come to a talk. I'll post pictures of the event with permission of the hosts, perhaps on Instagram, and then cross-post that to Twitter, basically talking about how many people came. So if I present it as a successful event that had good positive outcomes, that lots of people attended, then it means that other people would want to book me in the same way and host an event or have me run a workshop for them, because there was a great turnout for it. So I also often do a blog post. So if somebody asks a question during the event, it might tell me that there is lots of people might want to know the answer to that question. So I'll do a blog post. Because what I find is after people attend my workshops and my events, during those events, I encourage them to follow me on social media, because they often say, I don't know where to get the answers to these questions. And I say, well, I'm always talking about them on social media. Follow me on Twitter, like my Facebook page, subscribe to my newsletter. So I usually get an influx of new followers after I host an event. Then they've got more content to see when they go to those pages. They will see more answers to the questions that they ask. They will see a blog post that addresses in more detail an answer to what was asked at the event. So it's all part of the education strategy of getting people to understand what I'm talking about when I'm educating, what the response is like, and hopefully makes them feel more willing to attend or to hire me. I became quite successful on social media through long time experience, trying things, learning about social media, educating myself, throwing away things that didn't work, and optimizing things that did. My advice for any small business that's wanting to get into social media is to choose a social media platform that is recommended for your industry, because not all social media platforms are the same. Some are more visual, some work towards industries better than others. So find the platform that you think is going to fit well with your industry, and start with that one, and at least get it up and running and working for you before you tackle another one. For myself, I always maintained a very honest approach to social media. I am never interested in get rich quick or buy, spend $50 and get 100,000 followers type of deals. There are a lot of what I call snake oil salesmen out there that will tell you that they can get your social media presence up and running, and in no time at all you'll have 50,000 followers and lots of results for it. It simply isn't true. It does take time, education, strategy, and persistence to build a good, honest social media profile. In the past, a lot of people bought a lot of followers on various platforms, and they've come undone by that, because every time they want to advertise to their followers, they're paying a lot of money to send their posts out to what are called bot followers or robots. They're actually just empty profiles. It's called social media for a reason, because it is based on socializing, but it's also part of your networking, and it's a very, very important tool to understand how to use. But don't just jump in feet first, join up to everything, post all this stuff out there without knowing what you're doing. You have to know when to post, when's the best time of the day, when's the best time of the week to post, who do you post, who do you follow, who should be following you, what kind of things should you post, how do you make sure that your posts actually get people reading them, what sort of headlines do you come up with, who is your customer, who is your ideal customer, what's your demographic. Those are the types of things that a social media consultant or a course that you do in social media can help you identify. You might find there's a course being run at your local community centre or by your council. That's a good place to start, and then you'll at least be able to have some kind of base level idea of what you should look for further education. I use e-marketing to sell my book, which is what I call a manual, and even my manual sells my services. So it's an integrated part of my marketing strategy. I do create the book myself. I upload it to a website called Scribd, which is where you can read it up there, or you can download it as a PDF. I advertise it throughout my website. So at the bottom of every single blog post that I do, I have a short pictorial ad with a link through to the page where people can buy the book. It's also featured in the side column of my website. It's always there with an ad on it that clicks through to that as well. I also integrate it into all my marketing through my social media. So all my social media profiles have a picture of me on it holding my manual. The first tweet that you read on my Twitter account is a pinned advertisement for my manual. So because you now can pin tweets to the top of your Twitter feed. So when people visit my Twitter profile, the first thing they see is a tweet advertising my manual, then all my other tweets are underneath that. On my Facebook page, there is a pinned advertisement for my book on my Facebook page, so it's the first post that comes up. I also have a link underneath my cover pic to my manual, and when you click through to that, you can see a preview of several pages of my manual. On my website, on the page where you can buy the manual, I also have a preview. So what that means is that people can scroll down, they can look at the contents page, just like you can on Amazon, where you can see a preview of the book. My e-commerce on my website is very simple because I really only have the one physical product that I sell, which is my manual. So I have set up a PayPal button on it. I have an option that people can buy it and download the PDF, as I spoke about before, or they can get a physical copy of my book, which includes postage. But I would strongly advise, if you want to start selling your product directly on your website, that you get professional advice and ask about the different options that you can have for using what's known as shopping carts on your website. The main thing is to make it easy for people to buy from you. You don't want them jumping through too many hoops to be able to purchase the product, and then they have to know that once they've bought that product from you, that they're going to get it delivered. Using social media to run advertising campaigns can be tricky, and it's really worthwhile getting some very good advice on it, because you can spend a lot of money and end up with not much to show for it. As far as Facebook goes, the most successful kind of advertising that I've done is to promote a post to my own fan base, not out to the world, because you can end up with a lot of empty hits on it, people that aren't really going to be interested in what you're selling or your industry or your promotion. If you promote it to your own database on Facebook, which is your likes, then it has an effect of doing two things. Firstly, it helps to ensure that your post gets out to all your fan base. You will get results from that, and hopefully people will click through onto your post and get through to your website. But it also gives your Facebook page a bit of a boost, and that might last for about a week. So instead of getting only a very small percentage, like 5% of your likers reading your posts, it might go up to 20 or 30% for a time after that. So you don't have to spend very much money to do it, depending on the size of your fan base, which is another reason why you want to make sure that your likers on your Facebook page are genuine, that they're real people, because the more likes you have, the more money you have to pay to get your advertisement to them. Another thing you can do with pages is to run competitions, but be very, very careful about running competitions on Facebook pages. There are a lot of laws in Australia about running competitions, and you have to make sure that you abide by them, or you could get into trouble. So get a lot of advice on that. And then sometimes people will click on competitions just to win a prize, and they'll never buy from you again. So if you're going to run a competition, either on social media or even on your website, make sure that whatever it is that they win has something to do with your business. There's a few tricks to getting success on social media with when you post, what you post, and how you post. They change quite a lot. It's really important that you build a strategy to understand how each platform works and what works best on each platform. For instance, on Facebook, you might find that for your demographic, they're most active on Facebook first thing in the morning before they drop the kids to school, for instance, and then maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon after they've picked their kids up, if that's your demographic, in which case that's when you need to post. There's an awful lot of traffic on Facebook, and for your post to be seen, it has to be at that optimal time or it falls down the page. If you've got a different type of demographic where they are office workers and they get on and hop on social media in the middle of the day, then that might be where you want to post. You can tell how successful your posts are and how much reach they're getting by having a look at your analytics in the back of your Facebook page and seeing when most people are seeing your posts. Analytics are critical for understanding how successful your posts are, either on Twitter, by how many retweets you get and how many comments you get, and analytics on Facebook. When you're doing a post or cross-posting from your blog to social media, it's important that you think a bit like a journalist. What kind of heading is going to make people read that post? If it's too obtuse, like "you'll never guess what happened to me today," you might find that people don't click on it. They're not interested. If you ask a question that is absolutely timely and relevant to what is happening in your demographic's life right now, you might find your post goes totally viral. Ask the right question at the right time. That might take a little bit of market research for you to find out what your demographic is interested in. And the way that you get that is by following your clients, reading their posts, finding out what they're doing your market research through media. Video also works really well on social media, both on Twitter and on Facebook. Twitter have changed the layout of their browser now, so if you use Twitter on a browser rather than an app, you'll see full pictures up there now. So it's actually really good now for people that have a product that's visual, and the same with videos. Make sure that you moderate all the comments on your platforms wherever they are, so that something doesn't go up that is abusive to you or to another person that is on your page. For instance, if it was a Facebook page, that means that it's a good idea to have apps on mobile devices where you are, so that you're notified of comments that come through, so that you can deal with any issues that come up before they get out of control. The worst thing that can happen is that somebody complains on your Facebook page about your business, makes an accusation, you don't know about it because you haven't been paying attention, and then others come in underneath that comment and add to it, and it gets completely blown out of control. I love using the cloud. I know a lot of people don't know enough about it, and they might be a little bit wary of using the cloud, but I use it in so many ways for my business. After having a few disasters in my past, a long time ago, with losing data, particularly a lot of photos actually, I am also the backup queen. Backup. I have lots of different backups all over the place, and several of them are to the cloud. One great use of using the cloud to backup is that if everything burns down, your business burns down, you have everything up there in the cloud, which is in a server somewhere around the world actually, not literally up in the cloud, that you can then access. You don't even have to download it. You can't rely entirely on the cloud. You do have to still have your data stored somewhere in your business in almost a hard copy type of thing, maybe in an external hard drive. But I'll just give you a few tips on using the cloud. I use iCloud because I use quite a few Mac devices. This synchronizes my calendar, my email, my documents. I upload documents to iCloud, and then I can have a look at them, use my iPad to have a look at them and show people presentations that I do. I can upload them to the cloud and show the presentations on my iPad if I were going out to see someone and needed to show them what my presentations were like. I also use Dropbox, and what I've done with my Dropbox is that I've uploaded all my files to Dropbox. I'm very, very organised with my filing system on my computer. I also have another software that I use called Carbonite, which I have heard is very trustworthy, and all my files are uploaded to that. Then I have my external hard drive, which is what's called Time Machine. It automatically updates and stores newer versions onto an external hard drive. This is also a great benefit, because then if I've made a mistake and I've deleted something and I can't retrieve it, I can go back in time via Time Machine and find the original copy, or go back to a time where the information was there and find it again. The other way I use the cloud is for media, for storing things up on like YouTube. That's the cloud. So with video, I will host video on YouTube and either make it public or make it private, depending on what I'm using it for. So I recommend the cloud, but I would suggest that with all these different platforms, you look at the security and the privacy settings around them, and if it's available, use what's called two-step verification, which is becoming increasingly available on different platforms. Two-step verification is available on Twitter, it's available on Google, on Facebook, on iCloud, on Dropbox. It's really important to present yourself online in the same way as you would offline. Try not to think of them as two different realms. They really aren't. You need to be and appear to be authentic and trustworthy online as you would offline. That means having believable photos of yourself on all your online platforms, coming across as a trustworthy, personable person, being authentic, which means you're not pretending to be something that you're not. If it doesn't feel right to you and you feel uncomfortable about how you're being presented online, then go with that gut feeling, because people want to know who you are. They want to do business with someone that they feel they can connect with.